and welcome to the show this week. And this week we have a bit of a different angle. We have Cordell from Vivace Insurance, and this insurance broker really offers some different types of coverages. So you got to stay tuned to figure out if Vivace might be of use to you. Let's get into it with Cordell.
Welcome to the Trucking Risk and Insurance Podcast.
Ah, and that's perfect. Welcome to the show, Cordell. Could you do me a favor and tell us about, and I'm going to screw the name up of your company again, because you said it's named after a wine. What's the name of the company?
Vivace.
Vivace. And what's the relationship? Just very quick, what's the relationship between trucking, Vivace, and insurance?
They're pretty all different, but Vivace stems from, I want to say, like a wine background where it's has like different notes to it, different flavors, different movements within the wine. And it was founded by the founder, Phil Bilney. And he came up with the name. And like I said, it has elements of like movement, upbeat notes, and stuff like that. And you could tie that into the
Yeah.
transportation industry
Mhm.
because there's always
Mhm.
constant movement of goods. Everyone is very upbeat when it comes to the working force and all that stuff within the industry.
Well,
I
and
think it's a great name.
you could take the aspect of the different flavors ties in with the different cultures of different companies within the industry and stuff like that.
Oh, definitely. Yes, you could. So
Yeah.
it's a
Interesting.
all-inclusive name, I want to say.
Yeah, that's
And it
cool.
rolls off the tongue a little bit. Sounds a little
Yeah.
I really like it because, as you said, there's a lot of movement. Like for those people who don't drink a lot of wine, and some people would say I drink too much wine. I agree with you that there's a lot of different aspects of wine and they blend together. That's the same as trucking. There's all
Mhm.
kinds of different aspects of trucking, tanker and flat deck and all,
Mhm.
but everything blends together to get the product to where it's needed. And logistics and transportation. I think it's a great name, Vivace. What is Vivace? What are you guys doing?
Oh, so we are a startup MGA, and we're
Okay,
in
what's an MGA?
it's a managing. Actually, I gotta look this up real quick. So,
What is it, John? An MGA?
Managing General Agency.
managing general agency, and basically we are. Oh, I lost you real quick. We are a startup company, and we have the authority to write insurance policies for ocean, land, and air transportation, and evaluate the risk of the goods, not just within the U.S., but also within worldwide as well.
Yeah, and for our viewers and listeners, an MGA is almost the same as an insurance company. As you just
Pretty
heard
much.
Cordell say, they actually evaluate the risk and then you can bind it without going higher, correct?
Mhm.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So it's virtually the same as an insurance company.
Pretty much, yeah. It's same as insurance company, and we have a certain amount of authority that we operate within.
Yeah.
Anything above that, we have to do a little creative thinking and to get the job done, but usually works out.
Yeah. And what I found interesting when I was doing some research, and you just said it, you're doing land, air, and ocean.
Mhm.
I don't think we've had anybody who writes ocean risk before.
Not that I'm aware of up here in Canada, anyway, from an MGA approach.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, interesting. Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
I
there
just,
should be some good ports around Canada for shipments that are coming in and out.
Mhm.
So I'm a little
Hal-
surprised.
Halifax is one of the deeper ports. Halifax, I know, can take the big ships. I think there's only 4 ports in North America that can take that size of ship, and Halifax is one, and the other 3 are in the US, if I remember.
Yeah, the US definitely has a couple top 5 ports, I would say. You have the New York port, you have the Long Beach port, Gulf of Mexico, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA, of course.
The big one.
Shoot. I've actually been to, not as a truck driver, but I was hopping on a cruise. And so the cruise port was out of LA, and I get,
Yep.
damn, that's a big port.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, constant movement, just like Vivace.
See? Hey,
Yep.
what are the regulatory compliance aspects that you would say are critical for trucking specifically?
I would say that would involve the compliance, safety, and accountability scores, the CSA. And there's, I want to say, 7 factors within that. And within those 7 factors, the CSA scores are assigned by the FMCSA, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And to tell you the truth, the lower the score is on the scale of 1 to 100, the better. And this is something underwriters definitely take a look at just to evaluate the risk as a whole.
Mhm.
And
Damn important when it comes to
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah, definitely make sure everyone's doing their part, everything's in check, and we want to promote safety at the end of the day, no matter how big the shipment is or how important it is. Everyone's got to be safe on job, in my opinion.
Mhm. Agreed.
okay,
Mhm.
trucking is in the top 10. Um, it's in the top 10 high risk professions. That's what I want.
Yes.
The
Oh,
last time I
definitely.
looked at it, it was number 6. Believe it
Number
or not.
6.
Yeah. Only things like roofers and high steel workers and things had a more dangerous occupation than trucking. And yet, if you ask a truck driver, they don't think it's dangerous at all. But it is in the top 6. And so the CSA or SMS scores, I know insurers rely
Mhm.
on well, as one of the marking points. It's not the only thing, but insurance
Mhm.
has an impact on your policy rates. That's
Right.
for sure.
Definitely. Yep. It's definitely a big factor. It's one of the first things I would like to see when I open up a file and dive in and see what I could find and how to underwrite it the best of my ability. So it's
Mhm.
definitely a key point. And it's
What else is there? CSA SMS is one thing. What else are you looking at when you're evaluating a trucking risk? What are you looking at?
I'm also looking at the DOT ratings as well and their audits. Just want
Mhm.
to make sure that's in line with the CSA. And we all know like the DOT audits are triggered by serious accidents or like high CSA scores, violations, and even randomly chosen by audits. And we just want to make sure that's in line with the CSA as well and my findings. So that's very important. And also another big one for underwriters, in my opinion, is your operating authority within the FMCSA. This is a big one. I've found throughout my career that there are agencies that think they are licensed for a certain type of goods or
Yep.
operation, and they find out that they're not, and they're in
Mhm.
violation, or policy has to get canceled if it was grossly underwritten or there was some negligence there. So that one's a big one. You want to make sure you're operating the proper authority as a property broker, freight
Mhm.
forwarder, and also do you have the proper bonds in place? Your
Mhm.
BMC 91, which is more of, I want to say, interest within the
Mhm.
states, and then your BMC 91X, which is more of the interstate between the states. And make sure you have those in place and you're doing your part to make sure everything is in order.
Mhm. It's good that the insurance side knows this. They need to know this because they're unfortunately it is fairly easy to get into the trucking industry and get your operating authority. And it's not once you've got your operating authority, it's not the end all be all that says, hey, now I can go haul anything and everything I want because there's a lot of regulations around certain commodities and
Mm,
there are requirements to have certain insurance thresholds in place with specific commodities. Dangerous goods being one,
yeah.
dangerous goods in a van versus bulk dangerous goods in a tanker or household goods or radioactive materials. And there's all these different things. It's good that you're knowing this and understanding this to catch this and look for these things because you don't want to have to deal with a motor carrier that didn't know it themselves.
Exactly. The last thing we want to do is a customer like, oh, we can't, not only can't we insure you because X, Y, and Z, but you don't know how to operate properly. And I think if insurance companies took that extra step of just, hey, even though you don't have these in place right now, we'll work with you. We'll put it as a subjectivity.
Sure.
We'll give you some ample time to get your proper filings in place because it's a good educational piece all around and it just keeps the industry a lot tighter. And so everyone knows what they need to do, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 And I don't want to make it seem like underwriters are just going to nitpick and find every little thing that's wrong, but it's more of us trying to do our part to also educate the trucking agency as well. Because like you said, it's very easy to get into this business, even on a property broker level where you don't need any equipment at all. You're just operating off a computer in a basement, arranging shipment. So
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot more people doing that, it seems like, because
yeah.
they perceive it as being easy money and so easy to start the company and no risk. Well, I got news for them. It's not that easy. That's why it is difficult. But getting back to trucking, especially in the US, as we say sometimes, US is fairly litigious, uh, especially when it comes to nuclear verdicts. I mean, my God, here in Canada, we have different insurance rules. Therefore, we don't have these huge verdicts that we have in the States. But if you truck in the States, you're subject to them. So what piece of advice would you give to a trucking company owner to say, hey, this is the best way, or one way at least, to avoid a nuclear verdict?
I personally would say just talk to your underwriter. I would say talk to insurance companies because they definitely have some good information on that as well. I can't really speak on that part. I don't have that much experience when it comes to nuclear verticals.
But what you said is huge.
Mhm.
Talk to your underwriter.
Yeah,
I
think that's
really
that's
believe.
yeah. Sorry, just to
No,
add on that, I think just talk to your underwriters. I think a lot of companies, agencies, they want to put their best foot forward, which is good. You want to be out and open on your application. But there's also questions where it's like, how will this affect me in the claim? How does this affect the industry with these new regulations and stuff like that? But it's good to have that relationship with your underwriter and broker as well. So you're always informed and it's a well-oiled machine on all parts, in my opinion.
and I think that's one aspect that many trucking companies forget, is that they should build a relationship with the broker. That's really important, but also with the underwriter, so that you are not just a policy number, but when the underwriter comes to understanding your account, because of the relationship and the conversations you've had with the underwriter, you are much more than just a policy number. I think that
Right.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And you also build somewhat of a personal relationship sometimes. And sometimes your things are more on top of the list than others, depending on that relationship with the underwriter. And once you have that working relationship and what the underwriter is going to ask in advance or what they like, what they don't like, and when it comes to renewals and stuff like that, it's an easier process on the next go around.
I was going to say, Chris and I have been in the insurance world a long time here now, and we've both seen companies who feel that their underwriters are untouchable, and they just don't feel that they could reach out and build that relationship, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if they could, they would have a better understanding of certain aspects of their business are a higher risk than others. Yet they can put controls in place to help mitigate or reduce that risk from becoming a problem. And by having a conversation with your underwriter so that you can help put the relationship at ease and be able to show, hey, excellent information. Thank you. I'm going to go away. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to put some programs in place, some training in place, and then I'm going to come back and share it with you to now give the underwriter confidence that the motor carrier is doing exactly what they said. And that just helps create synergy between the two of you. And then you bring the broker in there, and all of a sudden you've got a happy relationship. Just like Chris and I, we're happy all the time. It really can help cement and educate everybody in that circle.
Yeah, and Johnny, you're totally right on that. And you can't speak for all underwriters, but sometimes we do get a little egotistic because we do have the power of the pen when we are the decision maker and
Sure.
we want things our way. But as you can tell, I'm a more of a on the younger side and I want to break that mold and just have that more of a relationship with my clients and brokers. And I think that that'll go a long way. And once again, that kind of ties into the Vivace name. It's more upbeat. Everyone is moving together as one and, creating quote unquote, that perfect wine taste and that perfect taste within the industry, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Needs to be the relationship with your palate is the same as the relationship.
No pun intended with the palate.
It's got to be smooth. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, just tying it back to Vivace. When you were speaking earlier, Cordell, I was looking over at my bookshelf to see if I could grab a copy of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, that green book. Actually, don't think I own one anymore because, of course, it's online. But what do you think about regulations and compliance in the trucking industry? What's the most challenging part for trucking companies and regulations?
That's a lot of factors. And I'd say like one of the most challenging factors is the HOS management, which is the hours of service, which includes the complexity of managing multiple driver schedules while maintaining efficiency. I think this is a big one. A lot of trucking agencies want to maximize the profits as much as you can and the drivers, but that's hard to do with other factors that you have on a day-to-day basis. And so I think that's a challenge. Dealing with unexpected delays, weathers, and traffic that impact driving hours. I think that's a challenge as well. Dealing with climate change and you don't know what the road or the weather is going to present sometimes. You might have to go a different route and quote unquote that might affect your policy or not. But once again, pick up the phone, call your broker, call the underwriter, explain the situation, and let's work together and see how we could get the shipment back on the road the best way we can. I know. hmm
And today we're recording this in what is probably one of the coldest, certainly where I am, it's the coldest day of the year so far, 11
11
degrees
degrees.
Fahrenheit. Chicago is at 9 degrees. That's chilly, and trucks break down. Trucks run into weather-related conditions. Trucks don't start. But yeah, there could be a lot of different things, and there may even be a snowstorm. Talking about rerouting, does Vivace take into account where the companies go? A lot of insurance companies like to get the DFTA reports to see how many miles in each jurisdiction the company is going. Do you do the same?
Not for our program. We don't do the IFTAs. That's a different program. I want to say more of like towards a cargo hauler program for us. But when it comes to just the transportation of goods and you have your strict liability, we don't really look at the IFTAs too much. But it's still good information just to see the mileage. Is it more of a long haul? Is it more of a medium haul? Is it more of a short haul? And stuff like that, in my opinion. And it just gives underwriters better information of, okay, what's the routine here mainly?
Johnny and I know that there's certain jurisdictions in the U.S., like Cook County, just outside of Chicago, is notorious for outlandish, not claims, but outlandish payout.
Rewards, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, John. I couldn't think of the damn
Yeah.
word. But there are certain jurisdictions, though, in the U.S. that will pay out more than other jurisdictions. Like Montana is a little more calm when it's compared to Chicago, for example, or Texas, I think.
Texas.
But,
Yeah.
you know,
New York.
or
Yeah.
Florida, damn,
Yeah.
$1 billion claim in Florida payout a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And it usually involves with those bigger metropolitan areas where it's more condensed. There's more risk of an accident to happen, regardless if it's pertaining to the cargo or unfortunately another car.
What type of risk are you looking for specifically? Like when you say you insure trucking, you insure ocean freight and all that, what is it that you would like? What's your ideal client look like?
my ideal client is basically pretty generic, but the safest risk. Everyone wants that. Are you transporting new general merchandise that is just basic stuff? You're going point A to point B, maybe less than 300 miles. And this is what you do on a daily basis. So you're in contact with more of a direct shipper that does this on a daily basis, and he's contracted your trucking company, and you guys have that relationship, and it's warehouse to the final destination and back. And that's more of the safer risk. Not I like to see that, but I'm more of a on the creative mindset where it's let's help you with something a little bit more challenging in my view, which is what I like. Let's see where this ocean shipment is going to take you from point A to point B, and now you got to contract a trucking agency and merge the two transportation together so it could reach its final destination.
Yeah, so your possible client might be arranging the shipment from Japan, for example, container freight all the way over to the US, offloaded onto a truck, and then delivered to its final destination.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a risk that we love. We don't shy away from. And it's a constant movement, and everyone is happy at the end of the day when everyone needs that type of insurance instead of just inland transit all the time. People think of insurance as just, oh, it's just inland transit on a truck. Where did those goods come from? Those goods probably came from overseas and then onto a truck, and now the truck's onto its final destination. So those are the moving parts that we look at.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's huge. You look at any container port, and there are thousands of containers at any point in each port. And there's multiple ports in North America because a lot of stuff hits Vancouver or Halifax. And then we truck it, Canadians truck it to the south, below the 49th parallel. It's just, there's a lot of movement there. And I'm not aware that there's a huge number of companies looking to insure a product from the beginning of its trip all the way through to the final thing. You know,
That's not a lot of companies do that. And then you could take it a step further, and there's insurance policies called stock put-throughs, where not only we're taking it from an ocean shipment all the way to the final destination to the warehouse, but also, stock put-through is we're insuring the raw material itself. Just say like coal, refining it, gas, oil and gas as well, and going through those steps of what you call upstream, midstream, and downstream of the oil refinery process, and till it's a final product and ready to be sold onto the barrels and shipped out. So those are also insurance products that insurance carriers also offer as well.
yeah. Cool. I'm not very well versed in ocean freight. My background is all trucking. We move containers, but damn, I didn't have to move it from Japan over here or Korea or China, wherever. What are some of the practical implementation approaches that you might find for regulatory compliance and strategies like that? How the hell are we going to? Trucking companies, it's hard. You mentioned HOS as one of the things. John and I have seen the HOS compliance. The number of violations now have shrunk, but the scores remain high because it's nothing but a comparison. How do you see all these regulations? What's the greatest challenge in meeting these things?
But the greatest challenge is just comparing them to the other 7 basic CSAs, in my opinion. And that's basically the unsafe driving, the driver fitness, the controlled substance and alcohol violations, the crash indicators, history, and stuff like that. But that's a big challenge. And also just prioritizing areas of immediate attention for the risk levels. This is such as challenges in regulations, natural disasters, and a big one is shortage of skilled workers and drivers. It's really not much out there. And the last thing you want to do is hire an experienced driver and have a violation and stuff like that. And just one bad apple could ruin your policy and kind of your, not only that, your workflow within the company, I assume, Johnny. I don't know if you could on that.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I was going to say most definitely. There's no I in team, as we know, but we also know that if we don't control things as we should, it doesn't take much for one driver to take down a whole corporation due to negligent control. Like Chris was saying earlier, nuclear verdicts, all it takes is one driver, bad behavior behind the wheel, make a bad decision. Lack of training, inexperience is huge right now. And before you know it, you're now seeing that you have to pay out this large reward for something that you thought, I didn't think it was that bad. But companies need to really pay attention. And one of their biggest things is their people. You need to pay attention to your people who you're hiring.
Well, and
Very.
you really need to be training those people too.
Mhm.
John, I'm involved in a court case right now where the new hires, they both testified that basically they were brought on board and given the keys to the truck.
Yeah.
I'm sure as an underwriter, that's not what you wanted to hear.
No. And that's why as an underwriter, it is important. And that I do tend to ask, hey, is there like a training procedure in place? Do you guys have that? Can you send me a copy? Just so I know, how serious is this agency? Is this just, I don't like to say this, is this kind of like cash grab? Do you think it's just so transactional for you that you're just making money and not really doing your end of your part of just making sure you're in compliance and making sure everyone's safe once again within the.
Hey, Cordell from Vivace. Hey, wine. Thanks. I live in Southern Ontario. We're 30 minutes away. We have 120 or so wineries. A lot of people don't think of Ontario as having a lot of wine. Think of California, like where you are. But
Yeah.
believe it or not, Ontario has hundreds of wineries, and not 30 minutes away is the first one. And there's well over 100 within a 40-minute drive of my house of different wineries. So
Cool.
Some shipments of wine then every now and then that you see.
oh yeah, there are trucking companies that do nothing but move wine because there's that many. And out near Johnny's place, John lives an hour or so west of me, and there's a lot of wineries there on the north shore of Lake Erie.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
And of course, now we're way off topic, but I love wine. But hey, I just wanted to say, Cordell, thanks for coming on to the show. It's been great. And again, for our viewers and listeners, Vivace, they are looking or writing ocean transport, logistics, and transportation. Those are the three categories that they're actively looking for business. And Cordell's contact info is down in the show notes. Reach out to Cordell. Hey, can you write Canadian or is it strictly American?
No, we could write in Canada as well. Canada is a strong partner within the US. We work together as best as we can. And the FMCSA includes Canada as well.
Yep.
In their guidelines and compliances. Yeah, we include Canada as well. And I know Canada has their own bonds and that's something that we could help educate our clients on obtaining as well.
The majority of our listeners and viewers are American. We have it's about 30 to 40% of our viewers are Canadian as well. So I just wanted to make sure the Canadians knew that they could reach out to Cordell as well to see if there is any services that may be available. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you.
Tongue-tied there. Thanks, Cordell.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm looking forward for the next one, hopefully in the near future.
Perfect.
And thanks, Cordell. That was awesome. And thank you for hanging in there for this week's Trucking Risk and Insurance podcast. We appreciate you. John and I really do appreciate you hanging out with us. And we'll be back next week. Don't forget to leave us a comment. Click the like button, subscribe. We appreciate it all so much. All right, see you next week. And next week, by the way, we have a special show. It's just John and I, and we tackle a great question from a safety director. So that's on next week's episode. Join us. See you then. Bye.